Sitara conducted some legwork to learn more about Nayaja's son, the grandson of Amir al-Bahr Aden bin Tariq Musa, discoverer of the New World and the late Master of Seas. Ru bin Faris Musa was a farmer like his father. It seemed the legacy of his mother's family did not weigh heavily upon him, and he had a reputation for being a very down-to-earth individual. She also learned he employed a number of children of various ages as farmhands, which she saw for herself when she went to visit the Musa farm one morning. As she was speaking with a youth who fancied himself quite the salesman, one of the elder workers, Amar, arrived before the young man got carried away. Sitara inquired whether the master farmer might know Sakina, the caretaker of orphans she had met. After brokering a deal for some grain, Sitara also left word that she wished to speak with Ru, believing, that the farmer might show the same humanity in matters of a larger scale. After several days passed, Sitara returned to the farmstead with Jyotish. On the way, they discussed their experiences sailing, as well as their families and histories. The mild-mannered purser explained that the shorter expeditions he had gone on previously had left him with a curiosity to see more of the world. While his wife had not initially been keen on him signing on to Viz Leany's crew, Jyotish believed she'd come around, and he did not seem to regret his decision. In spite of their more harrowing experiences, he had learned much from their journeys, which had been very profitable, and added that the signing bonus Master Lame offered was not insubstantial. Sitara confessed she sometimes questioned her decisions and still felt somewhat unaccustomed to not being second-guessed by others. Slightly surprised, Jyotish commented that self-reflection was good and self-confidence necessary in her role as captain, assuring her the crew and their patrons' faith had been well earned. He certainly felt as safe as one could in their profession, with his crewmates and captain having proven themselves so capable in the face of danger and combat. Sitara mused that she'd had much practice growing up, between her Aunt Sura, her father's master of arms, and Stig. Jyotish observed that perhaps her family background was part of what made her such a fitting captain for Viz Leany and her diverse crew. With Sitara remarking that it is the Awami way to welcome all travelers, regardless of their culture, and take them in if needed, Jyotish commented that Ru seemed to be of a similar spirit. He revealed that, while not polite conversation, it was rumored that the master farmer's wife was barren. Not having any heirs to pass the Musa name to, the couple had taken in numerous children, ergo the rather young workforce on the farm. Though she was very appreciative of Ru's benevolence, Jyotish noticed that the cultural notion that heirs need be blood seemed to strike a nerve with Sitara, who expressed a firm conviction that acceptance into a family should be sufficient for inheritance. Amar met them upon their arrival at the manor, and suggested Sitara enjoy the grounds while he and Jyotish ironed out the particulars of their transaction. She turned about in the drive, and, seeing something of interest in every direction she looked, decided to make a circuit and set off towards a nearby barn. Just as Sitara discovered a very pregnant camel, a friendly voice warned that she was rather testy at the moment. One of the workers, a pleasant middle-aged man, approached and offered his assistance before recognizing her as the captain who was to pick up a shipment today. Introducing herself, Sitara explained she had taken Amar's advice to explore the grounds when she'd stumbled across the grumpy beast. The man introduced himself as Faris, and as she shook his hand, Sitara noted the fine quality of his work clothes. When he remarked that she looked the sort who was used to happening upon things, she cheerfully confirmed his suspicion, but noted it was foolish to turn down guidance when offered. As Faris escorted Sitara around the fields and through the orchards, she saw many youngsters working on the harvest, often in teams. When asked if she had any children, Sitara replied that she did not, though she enjoyed their company, with Faris noting that he usually found those who could not abide children difficult to abide themselves. Having an appreciation for children's diligence and creativity herself, Sitara was glad Rue had the generosity to offer food and work to these youngsters, many of whom, Ferris informed her, had lost their families during the Long Dark. When Ferris asked her if this was the reason she had decided to do business with Rue, Sitara admitted she had hoped to entreat the master farmer's action, but had she been aware of his practices before, she would have gladly sought his business. While Sitara could not speak to the current rumors about conscription of Ashib's sailors, she relayed how her crew had rescued a Dashan coastal village in a Nawami caravan from Ta-Toan enslavement. While clearly perturbed by this news, Ferris was uncertain what action a farmer could take. Sitara hoped that Rue might speak to those that could take action to protect the vulnerable, and the Musa name still held great sway in those circles. Ferris thought that perhaps it was Rue's mother that Sitara would speak with, though he noted that she had become reclusive as of late. They paused as they came upon a pair of children in the orchard, one harvesting fruit and the other napping peacefully on a crook in the tree. Nearby teams of children stopped to watch as Ferris approached the slumbering child. When clearing his throat did not wake the boy, Ferris swapped him with the reed he had been using as a whistle, starting the boy awake. Sending his partner to another team, Ferris left the boy he'd caught snoozing to work his tree alone. Returning to Amar and Jyotish, the foreman noted Sitara seemed to have found a guide. Intimating that he expected they would do business again, Ferris took his leave. Sitara watched him as he disappeared from sight before turning to Amar. She thanked him for passing along her message, and asked that he also pass along her thanks to Rue for the tour. Chuckling at her insight, Amar wished them well as the shipment was loaded onto the wagon. As Sitara and Jyotish climbed into the wagon to leave, a young child came running from the house, clutching an envelope. Seeming to identify Sitara by her hat, he handed it to her before rushing off. She looked down to discover that, in her hand, she held a letter, addressed to Nayaja bint Tariq Musa.
When the crew retired that evening to the Purple Lantern, they found the innkeep Ziad in a particularly anxious state. Making a beeline for the crew, he informed them that they had a visitor waiting in one of the curtained booths. Mezi, Sitara, and Kasumi exchanged puzzled looks before Mezi ordered a round of drinks and headed for the booth. She slowly opened the curtain to find Raptus lounging in the booth with one leg tucked up at a rakish angle. Feeling apprehensive, the crew took their seats across from Raptus. As tension settled, Raptus revealed that he had 3 sealed letters he wanted the crew to deliver once they arrived at the Free Isle. The envelopes were addressed to 3 individuals, Dejin, Dalitso, and Wambui. Mezi assured them that these envelopes would reach their intended destination without any issues. Raptus accepted her word and went to take his leave until Mezi leapt to her feet to interrupt him. She asked who it was he was protecting behind the crates, and if it was the man she had helped in Alkura. Raptus reassured her that she need not worry, that whoever was behind the crates was a matter of family. Mezi, relaxing slightly, seemed to accept his answer and allowed Raptus to pass. Once he left the inn, the 3 looked to one another, now filled with more questions than before.
When the captain, Kasumi, and Mezi approached the Musa city estate with Rue's letter, they were met at the gate by the house guards. Escorting the 3 inside the grounds, the guards brought them to a well-appointed parlor, decorated with rich and exotic items. Admiring the decor, they waited in various states of nervous restlessness until the doors opened for the lady of the house, the most famous woman in the world. A venerable and well-dressed woman in her 60s, with a long plait of gray-streaked dark hair, entered the parlor and studied them curiously as she took her seat. Upon introducing themselves, Nayaja seemed to recognize either Sitara's name or her family's at least. Gesturing to her companions, Sitara offered the lady their gifts and briefly explained their origins. Mezi presented her the warm stones they'd discovered in the cache in the Awamre forest, and Kasumi gave her a mulberry perfume Sitara had made from the oil from the leviathan slain in the Sea of Ice. Seemingly intrigued by the gifts, the lady spritzed the fragrance before placing one of the warm stones upon her arm. Sitara told her of the rumors circulating about increasing Tatoan aggression on trade routes, and of their personal encounter with slavers. Understanding from Captain Hana that the Council of Captains had yet to select a new Master of Seas, Sitara stressed the need for the Council to unite. After remarking on the Council's apparent childishness since her father's death, Nayaja surmised that Sitara wished her to impress upon them the need to come to terms with the situation, and Sitara inquired if there were any captains Nayaja believed would be suitable to the office. Asking if Sitara would put herself forth for such an august position, Nayaja seemed satisfied with the young captain's genuinely bewildered reaction to the notion. When the lady shrewdly discerned that Hana had put her up to it, Sitara confirmed that she believed he would do the job credibly. Ultimately, Sitara's personal opinion meant very little, certainly in comparison to Nayaja with her standing and the familiarity with the council. However, the fact was that they would need a new Master of Seas in order to effectively address these dangers. Turning to Mezi and Kasumi, Nayaja inquired after their opinions on the matter. Mezi's initial response was of reserved concern for the troubled state of her country. When pressed, however, Mezi declared her belief that all nations must unite to stand against the threat the Tatoans now pose to their neighbors. The Ashib, the Free Isles, the Dashans, the Menzokan, perhaps even the Skendan. Momentarily forgetting the Ashib enmity towards the Free Isles, Mezi quickly read the discomfort in the room and emphasized the need to ally with the Tatoan expatriates and fugitives living there, especially since it might be necessary to overthrow the oppressive government of Al-Kara. The tension somewhat relieved, Nayaja questioned the plausibility of Mezi's proposal, but accepted their first-hand knowledge of the Tatoan attacks. Kasumi admitted that while there was no substantial talk of Tatoan aggression in Xianla, he believed it was a safe assumption that if their forces were attacking the Dashan and Awami coasts, the Menzokan would be next. Nayaja agreed to speak to the council, as it was high time to select a new Master of Seas, and that she would vote for whom she saw fit. She also indicated her support of their proposal of seeking allies, and asked that they keep her apprised of their efforts. As their meeting concluded, and Nayaja directed the guards to escort the three of them out, they heard a muffled noise outside. The guards opened the chamber doors, and a girl, perhaps 10 years of age, rushed in until she realized her grandmother was not alone. Subtly chiding the girl for interrupting them, Nayaja introduced her granddaughter, Nadia bint Akram Musa. When Sitara introduced herself and her crew, Nadia seemed to recognize her, though she managed to keep her composure. Having nothing to add to their exciting discussion of the state of politics, and keen on knowing more of their ship and their travels, Nadia asked if the captain could share some stories. Happy to humor the girl, Sitara spun a wondrous tale of how the great master shipwright, Aline bin Takumi Arashima, once traveled to the Awamre forest. She told of how he had obtained the great redwood tree that he would use to construct the greatest, most wondrous vessel of its kind, painting a glorious picture of the ship with her words. After describing the figurehead, she imparted the tale of Leany, how she lost and was reunited with her love after many trials, including a thrilling race, an encounter with a frightful sea monster, and braving an impossible maelstrom. She concluded with Aline, having built Viz Leany to brave the seas as her namesake had, setting about to find a crew for this magnificent ship. Though Nadia craved more, her grandmother gently decided that was enough for the day. though some heard her mutter about the child having too much of her mother in her. Leading them to the front door, Nyasha wished them luck on their journeys, and that the Jinn watch over them. After remarking that they always had, Sitara noted a brief look of dubious concern pass over the lady's normally stoic expression. Wishing Nyasha luck in her own endeavors, Sitara, Kasumi, and Mezi took their leave.